Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and in this case talking about your food storage, your stockpile of food for tough times. Guys, you all know what's going on around the world. You see inflation destroying the purchasing power, the economy of the middle class all over the world, and things are going to be getting rough. I know this because I've gone through this firsthand, as most of you know, and that's why I wrote that first book, the Surviving the Economic Collapse, based on my experience in Argentina. I've seen this happening, and I can tell you, just like I told so many people for so many years, I don't see it being that bad where you are in the United States. Now I'm telling you, yes, it is very bad, and it's about to get a lot worse. No, it's not because of Vladimir Putin. Out of the horrible things he's responsible for, the inflation that you're going to be going through is not one of them. It's actually a great scapegoat though, and the elite is going to be benefiting hugely because of this inflation that they're going to be, putting on your back and bleeding you to death. That's a nice excuse. People immediately say, yeah, that bastard, yeah, sure, he is a complete horrible monster, but he is not responsible, at least not in any serious degree, for the inflation that's going to be hitting you and affecting everyone in the world for a very long time. Perfect excuse though? Sure, and this just makes it a lot easier to squeeze every drop of blood out of the people. Whenever you go fill that gas tank, oh yeah, because we have to help out people over there, right? Yeah, don't be an asshole, they're being bombed, and you bitch and complain because of gas prices, make you feel guilty, right? All of that is just a way in which they're just redirecting, this is a redistribution of wealth from your pocket into the elite. That's all it is. And yes, of course, there's real reasons for inflation when there's a conflict like the one you're seeing right now, when there's war and the possibility of even World War III going on, as low or high as it may be, doesn't matter. We are in very tough times, and this is something that's going to be affecting prices, but it's even more so how the elite takes advantage of it, just like they took advantage of what's been happening these last 2 years. So, going back to the topic of the video, if you're just, if you've been following the channel for a while, you probably have this covered. Now, there's a lot of people that haven't, and they're looking right now at, putting together a stockpile of food just in case. This is one of the basics of preparedness. You should always have this. How much, for how long? That's a big question, and I have an answer. My answer is 6 months to 1 year. Less than that is probably not enough so as to get you through some of the harder, more complicated, rough patches that you may end up facing. More than that, it kind of defeats the purpose, and I'll explain why. I always remember my friend Daniel from Venezuela, prepper in Venezuela, who had 2 years worth of food stocked up. He thought, look, if a horrible socialist dictatorship takes hold of the country, people are going to be complaining and protesting, and eventually they're going to be giving up, and it won't last more than a year or two. So his idea was 2 years of food, I'm going to be getting through this. 20 years later, the left-wing dictatorship is still there, still destroying the country. Guys, never forget that. Whenever you see Venezuela, Cuba, North Korea, China, and Russia all on the same side, that's not a side you want to be in, okay? Look at how people live in those places. Look at the quality of life and liberties they enjoy, in spite of what you're being told these days. No, you don't enjoy more freedom there than you have in Western democracies. But back to the topic of the video, 2 years of food was not enough, because this lasts for 20 years. And right now in Venezuela, food is more expensive than it is in the United States. That's the nature of inflation, especially the inflation caused by a left-wing socialist government. There are variations, but the one you have right now in the United States is very much aligned with that, especially in the economic aspect. The current administration, the people handling the man that's sitting in the presidential office, they have this thing about them. They destroy economies by just printing more and more, and the uncontrolled printing of money, that's how the money is redirected from your pocket into the pocket of the elite. They're benefiting in ways that far exceed the inflation that would naturally occur because of what we see going on. So this means you want to stock up on food, but you have to make as much bang per buck out of your investment of your food stockpile. You're basically going to be looking at having your carbs, your basic calorie packs. That's going to be rice, that's going to be dried pasta, flour, we may have wheat. I like something that's easier to cook than having a grain that I have to use a mill on and so on. Especially when you're looking at 6 months to a year, probably something like this works a lot better for you, right? Sealing airtight packages is going to be giving it a lot more shelf life than just keeping the original box, but you'll have your basic stuff of calories covering that. Rice, lentils, you want to have beans. Lentils are great because it's not just carbs, they have quite a bit of protein as well. And protein is highly sought after when there's a crisis, when there's a disaster. This is why meat gets such a premium. You want to have canned meats, maybe chicken, pork, tuna is a great option because it's actually quite good protein. And if it's in sunflower oil, in spite of being very high in protein and not so much in fat, when you have that olive oil or sunflower oil, that's going to be giving it a good amount of fat in that little tin as well. Don't forget your dehydrated potato flakes. Those things last for an extremely long period of time. I've eaten potato flakes, the dehydrated stuff that was 4 or 5 years past the expiration date, and it tasted just as brand new stuff. It just doesn't degrade, especially when kept in those Mylar bags. It really lasts for a very, very long time. And you can live on that, man. You can live on just on rice and lentils. That's going to be keeping you alive for years, really. I mean, it hasn't got all the nutrients, minerals, and vitamins, but it's the kind of stuff that will keep you alive for a very long time, especially if you supplement it with a few others. You want to have your canned fruits and vegetables as well, and something has to give a little bit more variations, has to make it more less boring. Sure, tea, coffee, in my case yerba mate, vitamins. Vitamins are going to be supplementing what's lacking from your basic staples. Again, vitamins, they do expire and they don't go bad immediately, but they're losing efficiency as time goes by, so keep that in rotation and update as necessary. Don't forget water. Keep in mind what's happening right now. And I get it. I've heard this so many times. I've been doing this for very long, so I've heard all of this before. No, I have a well. No, Fernando, I have a damn lake in my backyard. Okay, what happens if that lake is compromised? Because I can give you 2 perfect examples. You have a lake in Patagonia. All right, what happens when a volcano erupts like I've seen? It covers that lake with toxic volcanic ash. You cannot drink a single drop of that water. It's acid. You're going to be drinking that? No, you're not. So your lifelong supply of water has been compromised. Same can happen to a well. Look what's happening right now in Ukraine. If you're being shelled, if there's snipers, look at Sniper Alley during the Bosnia War. No, you have just what you have stored. So no matter what you have in your farm, homestead, or town, or whatever your personal situation is, you need those bottles of water. Buy those right now. They're damn cheap enough as it is. Have a supply of that rotated every year or so. It's not that big of a deal, and it is crucial when things really go to hell. Okay? Remember, you also need a way of cooking, preparing all of this. So have the fuels as to cook it, have alternatives, have 2, 3 options of cooking and preparing food if your main one is no longer available. Right, guys? All of this stuff I've covered to quite an extent, especially the inflation stuff in Surviving the Economic Collapse. So I really recommend it, given everything going on. For the stuff that you're seeing right now and the reality people in a place like Ukraine is facing, or when this causes this to be necessary because it's just dangerous out there, because your country, your world changes along with that economy, which is what I've seen myself. It's not just inflation. People right now are talking about the price of gas. That's just the tip of the iceberg. You just don't know how it affects every little thing. Inflation is poverty. The more inflation you have, the more your country becomes into a third world nation. And there's a reality that comes along with that which you just don't understand. So trust me on this. You want to learn how to prepare for that. Most people will be caught by surprise. It's very complex. You have so much stuff that is basically entertainment and preparedness, and you have so many channels that have I mean, great for them. You have a million followers and so on, but when I watch them, I know that it's entertainment. It's not practical, realistic stuff. Look what's happening right now in Ukraine. Look at what I posted just days before Kiev was attacked, when the entire country was attacked. I did a video I think it was days before it ended up happening, about a realistic bug-out bag, which is completely different from the fantasy crap you see all the time. People in Ukraine were having a suitcase with clothes, but most of all, money and documents. And I even mentioned gasoline in that video so as to get yourself out of there. Don't trust me. Go back and watch it in the channel. Subscribe to the channel, by the way, since you're watching this. If you go back, you will see that I mentioned just that. Days later, that was exactly what people were doing, lining up to get the cash out, lining up to get gas, and trying to get out of there. Now, at the same time, I'm leaving. This is so common. I get this all the time. I'm planning on staying, Fernando. No, I'm planning on leaving. Whatever is the case, you need both things. You need a strategy to bug out of there when staying is not an option, because that's what you may end up doing, or your family may end up doing. But you're leaving behind your 6 months or a year. Well, that's something you have to accept may be a possibility. Doesn't go to waste. This may end up keeping someone else alive in that city that's been invaded or hit by a natural disaster or whatnot. Okay? Options are always good. You want to have those. All right? Maybe you're staying, but you're being redeployed. You're staying to fight for your country, but you're being redeployed elsewhere, and you still have to leave behind that supply of food. And maybe you're getting your family, your wife and your kids out of there. So still applicable. Just like this is applicable for you that are staying there and fighting. And if you're one of those that end up saying, yeah, I'm staying to fight for my country, I'm picking up the gun, I never fired a shot in my life before, man, this is the kind of thing that will give you such a much better starting point if that's you. Of course, it's better if you have an actual background in firearms, shooting, training, defensive shooting especially, sure. But if not, this is putting you way ahead of that curve, It's not as good as taking an actual class on fighting, but it's one of the main focuses, because I know that a lot of people just don't have that sort of training, and they may end up needing it one day. Self-defense, fighting for your life, fighting for your country even, you want to know that stuff right there. Okay, guys, I hope you like this video. I try to keep it short, but it has to be as long as it needs to be, so it has to cover all this stuff. See you on our next video. Take care.